When nothing hurts, it is easy to believe that everything is going fine. This is how most people live a normal morning coffee work. Daily tasks, evening fatigue, and it feels like the body is handling life just fine. I often hear the same sentence from people who find out about fatty liver by accident. They say I was just living my life and did not think this applied to me. And that makes sense because the liver does not ask for attention. It works quietly day after day doing its job. Many people still think fatty liver is only about alcohol or obvious obesity. But today it is increasingly found in completely ordinary people who work hard, move a lot, and feel normal. The issue is that the liver does not complain, so a person can go a long time without noticing any changes. I have seen people learn about fatty liver during a routine checkup, without fear, without symptoms, just as information. And that is usually when questions start. The liver works like a filter, it processes everything we eat and drink, and when the load is constantly high, it begins to adapt. At first, this does not affect daily life, which is why the process stays quiet. That is why it is important not to wait for signals, but to pay attention to small daily habits that gradually affect the liver. And today, we will simply look at how this happens and what can be done. Calmly, without extreme steps, usually it does not look like something serious. Life just goes on and nothing seems out of control. The morning starts with an alarm. Then rush coffee on the go, thoughts about work and conversations ahead. She rarely stopped to think about herself because it always felt like something else was more important. Work, family responsibilities, things that could not wait. And in this rhythm, years passed quietly after those words at the checkup. She did not give them much weight. At first, she left the office thinking, okay, I just need to pay attention and move on. But as days went by, she caught herself remembering small details that used to feel normal, how often she replaced water with coffee, how some days passed on snacks, how dinner became the only real meal very late when the body was already asking for rest. She started to realize that the liver in this story was like a quiet worker that never complained and just did everything it could to keep the body going. The doctor did not scare her and did not talk about diseases. He just said this happens when the liver adapts to load for a long time and that it is important to let it work more calmly. Those words stayed with her, not because they were frightening, but because for the first time, it felt like something simple could be done without extreme changes. She started small, just pausing for a few minutes in the morning, not grabbing coffee right away but drinking a glass of warm water. First, she did not expect miracles, she just wanted to see how it felt, and interestingly, this small thing made her look at the day differently. She started to notice when she ate, not from hunger but from fatigue. When snacks replaced pause, and when dinner turned into the only moment for herself. Over time, she realized the liver does not ask for perfection, it asks for respect for rhythm, and that feeling became the most important part for her. She did not yet know where this would lead, but for the first time she felt like she was doing something for herself, not against herself, and that was the moment she wanted to learn more and understand what other small things could change the situation without stress and drink. And when the load is constantly high, it begins to adapt. At first, this does not affect daily life, which is why the process stays quiet. That is why it is important not to wait for signals, but to pay attention to small daily habits that gradually affect the liver. And today, we will simply look at how this happens and what can be done calmly without extreme steps over time. She understood that the most important change was not about doing more, but about doing less harm. The doctor explained that the liver does not need complex solutions, it needs conditions that do not create constant pressure. And one of the simplest things was what she drank every day. Especially in the morning, instead of starting the day with coffee or sweet drinks, she learned to begin with a glass of warm water. This was not a cure and not a detox. It was just a way to let the body wake up without stress. Warm water helps support normal bile flow and hydration, which makes the liver's work easier throughout the day. Sometimes she added a few drops of lemon, not to burn fat, but to gently signal digestion. The key was consistency, not intensity. She also became more aware of what to avoid: sugary drinks, juices, sweet tea, and soda, because liquid sugar goes straight to the liver and creates extra load. She did not ban coffee, she just stopped drinking it first and never on an empty stomach. During the day, she chose simple water or unsweetened herbal tea. Nothing fancy, nothing extreme. Just drinks that did not force the liver to work harder than necessary. What surprised her most was how calm these changes felt. There was no struggle, no fear, just a different relationship with her body. She says the most important thing she learned was that you do not have to wait for problems to take care of yourself. Small daily choices can prevent big issues later, and if you start early, you can keep things simple and quiet, just like the liver prefers. If you want to know more small habits that support the liver without extreme steps, stay with the channel. This is not about perfection, it is about consistency. Pause. Herself, not against herself. And that was the moment she wanted to learn more and understand what other small things could change the situation without stress and drink. And when the load is constantly high, it begins to adapt at first. This does not affect daily life, which is why the process stays quiet. That is why it is important not to wait for signals, but to pay attention to small daily habits that gradually affect the liver. Curious. And today, we will simply look at how this happens and what can be done calmly without extreme steps.